When it comes to dating, there's a lot of things that can be frustrating for a woman. And for some, the frustration is just meeting men, right? Just having men willing to come talk to you, being able to have more opportunities be presented to you, so on and so forth. But then the next layer of it is when you actually do meet a guy, and not just meet a guy, but a guy that you have an interest in, then it's the frustration of you'll have things seemingly going well, and then it goes away, or this thing seems to fall off, the guy loses interest, or you lose interest, whatever the case may be. But in the scenarios where maybe you feel like he may have lost interest for a reason, or essentially, how can you keep this going in a positive direction? There's a lot of things that women tend to overlook. Now, I'm going to say this before I get into the real meat of this video. A lot of women are being given guidance that can lead to game playing, that can lead to behaviors that will only make things actually harder, not easier and better. And so I want to make things easier and better for you. I want to increase your chances of having success in your dating experiences. So here are some feminine ways to keep a man's interest, because listen, the reality is that the vast majority of men, if you ask them, do they want a feminine woman? The majority are going to say yes. All right. And so tapping into that femininity for a woman is powerful. And let me also make clear, not just for the sake of keeping a man's interest and having success with relationships, but for your own peace, quality, and overall joy in life. Right. So let's get to number one. And the first feminine thing you can do to keep a man's interest is focus on your energy, not just the actions. So the reason why I felt the need to bring this up and make this number one is because I was recently not recently, it was months ago, or maybe it was last year. Anyways, I was on a panel at one time for the Dear Future Wifey podcast, and one of the topics that came up was women being feminine. And one of the panelists, Jessie, she mentioned how, these men nowadays want you to cook, clean, do all these things. But, women are more than that. And that's not what every woman's trying to do in a relationship. And one of the things I don't remember if I mentioned it on the stage, but I thought about after processing it some more, is the fact that a lot of women are confusing traditional roles with feminine energy. Okay. Now let's make this clear. There are women who can do all those traditional roles, so to speak, traditional gender roles, cooking, cleaning, housemaking, all that, and yet still not exude feminine energy. On the flip side, you have women who don't do any of those things. They don't cook, they don't clean, they don't do any of that traditional stuff, yet can exude feminine energy all day, every day. Because feminine energy first starts from within, all right? Whether you want to call it energy or spirit, it starts from what's going on within yourself and understanding how to project that energy out into the world. Your actions can be expressions of your feminine energy, or your feminine energy can flow through your actions, but the actions themselves don't necessarily dictate the energy of femininity. Now, if that sounds confusing, my apologies, but let me give it to you in a different way. So it's the same way how someone could talk to you and they can be very calm, they can speak very properly, they don't curse at you, anything like that. Yet you still feel an attitude coming at you. You still feel their energy attacking you, because the words that someone speaks doesn't necessarily dictate the energy that they're giving off. And so it can still create a very unpleasant experience talking to them if they are not mindful of their energy. So it's the same thing here. So when you are trying to keep the interest of a man going, right? You're trying to create better success in your dating and relationships. You have to start with what kind of energy, what kind of spirit am I bringing to this environment, all right, to this process. And so if you are struggling with bringing that kind of energy, one, understand that if you're being positive and loving, you're already tapping into your femininity. All right. So for anyone who say, well, how do I tap into that energy? Well, one of the simplest ways is focus on positivity and being loving. Like that in itself is going to exude feminine energy. And it kind of goes from there. And I don't want to get too deep into that. That's a whole different video. But the point is, ask yourself, what kind of energy am I bringing? Now, it's hitting my spirit, so I have to say this. A lot of times women don't realize that their feminine, positive, loving energy is being thrown off because in the dating process, there's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of fear. Okay. There is a lot of over analyzing. I laugh because y'all know sometimes y'all be in y'all head so much. Okay. Driving yourselves crazy, rather than allowing yourself to actually enjoy the experience. All right. And it's one thing if the man is genuinely doing bad things that cause you to have to question where he stands. But literally, you can have a situation where the man's not doing anything wrong. He's been nothing but good. And now it's like, oh, he's too good to be true. Now the overanalyzation is to think that he's trying to set you up for something bad. Like you can't even embrace the good he's presenting because again, that fear, that skepticism, that outside noise, friends, family, the internet, getting in your head, making you think something has to be wrong rather than actually enjoying it. And now listen, for those of you who are saying, but Stephan, sometimes it is something wrong. Now, if your intuition is talking to you, you know me. I'm never going to tell you to ignore your intuition. But you got to learn the difference between intuition and just fear that's getting in the way, right? But also understand that even if this man is planning to do something wrong that will show himself not worthy or not worth your time, you dwelling in a place of skepticism and negativity isn't going to do you any favors. Okay? Because if he is a great man, you're only going to now sabotage the situation or negatively impact it. If he is the bad man, it's going to come out. So look at it this way. You could enjoy yourself in the moment while still being in awareness and control of your emotions to where when he does do that bad thing, you're not blinded by your enjoyment. You're still able to see it for what it is and execute letting him go or addressing the issue the minute that it comes up. All right. You have to learn how to kind of flow with it in a way that you can switch into that. Okay, this needs to be addressed and switch right back into, okay, it's addressed. We're good. Let me go back to enjoying. But that energy of enjoying it is going to allow you to more easily tap into that loving, positive energy. So at the end of the day, so we can move on to the next point, focus on the energy first and foremost and let things flow from there. All right. So now the next thing you can do, the next feminine way to keep a man's interest is to speak to him with love and kindness and positive energy. So we're continuing with what I was just talking about. It starts with the energy, right? But then now, yes, there is a matter of being mindful of how you speak to the man. I can tell you as someone who, again, I've coached men, I've coached women, I've coached couples. I've seen tons of situations. One of the most common issues that creates a lot of tension and wreaks havoc in the relationship is women not being mindful of how they speak to a man. Okay. Now, if you're saying to yourself, Stephan, if she's speaking to him all kinds of ways, he must have did something wrong, right? Because I know that's always the assumption by a lot of women is that when the woman does something wrong, it's because the man triggered her. Listen, one, it's not always a man triggering her. Sometimes the man who triggered her is her ex issues that she never resolved. And now it's coming out and being taken out on the current man she's dating. Or maybe not just an ex. Hell, it might be stuff going on with her father, things she hasn't healed from back then. There's a lot of different things that are now being projected onto the current man, but not because of the current man. But let's just say he did do something wrong. Let's just say he did. And for the sake of this example, let's say it was a mistake. But you may not know that. You just see a man that did something that you don't like. Well, you now retaliating with negative, harsh talk, it doesn't serve any good purpose. Again, when we feel like we have to be attacking with our words, negative with our words, we got to come at people sideways, essentially, that's our pride. And I always say, you either want to focus on pride or progress. Okay? Pride can get you into more trouble. Pride can make the situation a lot worse. When you're focused on progress, you can still address the issue. You can still hold the man accountable and maintain a positive, loving tone. Now, for any woman that says, Stephan, I've been positive and loving and he still does wrong, or that man I dated still does foolishness, then he's exposing himself as a man not worth your time. If a man cannot respect you coming at him in a positive and loving manner, that means he is either not the man for you or not emotionally ready or healthy enough to be with you. All right. That's just more proof, but you should not take it as, well, that's a reason for me not to speak loving and positive. No, just get him out the way, because there's another guy out there who will love and respect that, who will feel like, dang, even when I make a mistake, she doesn't jump down my throat. She doesn't make me feel some kind of way. She addresses me respectfully and we resolve it. That's it. You know what I'm saying? I know that can be tough. I know many of you are conditioned to going at it from a much more harsh perspective. And again, you have to reprogram your mind to think that you have to come at it from this very negative way in order to gain respect, or, and to not be played in any kind of way. That's just not true. It's just not true. So understand that learning how to speak more positively and lovingly is going to be much more beneficial. And I feel the need to say this, whether it's this point or any of the points I make, a lot of this stuff are things you should be practicing in your everyday life, with your mothers, with your sisters, with your coworkers, all these different people. And what's the beauty of practicing with those individuals is you will get an opportunity to see the power of it before you even have to do it with a man. All right. Some of you don't understand how much further it will get you even at work. All right. I don't want to go through this long story, but I had a client once. To make it fast, she was running a hospital. When I first got with her, she was not liked by her coworkers at all. All right. It was a very negative environment. When she learned how to tap into her feminine energy, be more positive and loving in the way that she spoke to her employees, she said everything changed. They went from saying hello, being happy to be around her, offering more help and assistance. So that's why I really stress to you, this is not just about what it does for men and dating. It's the power it will start to show in all aspects of your life. So practice it in every way possible. So actually, one more thing before we move on to the next point. So in talking about speaking lovingly and feminine energy, when you speak in a very negative or harsh tone, you are essentially coming across more masculine, right? Not that harsh tones and negativity is a masculine trait, but you have to understand how it comes across and how it presents itself when it comes out of you as a woman. And so now what will happen is the man, it's almost like you're challenging and attacking him. Now, I always say, anytime someone feels attacked, they're going to get defensive. But it's not just getting defensive because I feel attacked. You're trying to punk me like I'm your child, or speak down to me. So naturally, a lot of people will now try to overcompensate and come back at you even harder. And when I say a lot of people, I was going to say men, but it is a lot of people, because if you do it to a woman too, she's going to up the ante as well. All right. And so a lot of times that tone, that energy only sets the stage for a bigger battle. Okay. And it just goes downhill from there. So again, and not just that, what's also hitting me is that it puts you in a very stressful state. So no matter what the outcome of that conversation is, in most cases, you walk away with more negative energy festering within you. You walk away with a headache. You walk away more stressed. So it's not healthy for you. Learning how to stay in that more positive and loving tone is good for your own health, but again, increases the chances of a much more beneficial and rewarding outcome. All right. Next feminine thing you can do, or feminine way to keep a man's interest, is to continuously flirt with him. Now, I think to highlight what the point I really want to get across even more, I'm going to say continuously show him desire. So flirting essentially does that. Flirting shows interest, expresses desire, okay? And it feels good when the flirting is coming from someone you actually like. Because let's be real, when the flirting comes from someone you don't care for, now it's harassment. Okay? Now it's annoying you. Now it can put a bad taste in your mouth. But when it's coming from someone that actually has interest and attraction towards you, it feels good. So this man you're dating, it's already established there's attraction. It's already established he likes you. He likes you to some extent at this point. And a lot of women overlook the need to flirt with the man. And again, they overlook the need, they overlook the power of flirting to gain the interest of men, and they overlook the power of flirting while in the dating or relationship process with a man. All right. And a lot of men do not feel desired by their partner. Again, it's something you hear about more from women. You hear more women express a lack of feeling desired in their relationship, but I can tell you it's extremely common with men, okay? And so as a woman, you want to make sure you're still complimenting the man. You're still, when you see something that looks good to you, say it. You know what I'm saying? And let's be real. I feel the need to kind of pivot just a little bit. A lot of you struggle with flirting because a lot of you struggle with being vulnerable. And flirting, there is a level of vulnerability there that comes with that. There's a level of openness that comes with that. There's this idea that, well, I don't want him to think I'm sweating him. I don't want him to think I'm thirsty. I don't want him to think I'm desperate. But it's like, yo, if you're already dating, that's not how he's going to take that. And how we perceive people's actions is highly dependent on the interest we have in them. So again, going back to the kind of joke I mentioned earlier, when it's coming from someone you don't care for, you're not attracted to, yes, it doesn't feel good. It can feel more thirsty. It can feel more desperate. But when it's someone that you actually are attracted to, it feels great. For most people, I mean, if you surveyed most men and women, they would say, yeah, they would love for their partner to flirt with them more. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of ways you can show and express desire. And it doesn't just have to be sexually, because I know some of y'all might be thinking in that way, and I'm not saying that doesn't help. I'm just saying that's not what the focus has to be, but it has to be a desire that shows attraction, a desire that shows joy that when he's around, just those positive and loving things. And, you know, I'll say this, and I've mentioned it in other videos. There's a book that it's based on surveying people who come out of getting their marriage license. And they ask all these questions. And one of the questions they asked the husbands was, why did you marry this woman? And one of the top answers, if not the top answer they received, was because she liked me. And to me, it's such a powerful point because, again, I think a lot of women don't realize that in relationship dynamics, there tends to be a greater expectation of the man pursuing the woman. And it creates this situation where a lot of women are either holding back or don't realize that they're not kind of meeting the guy halfway when it comes to effort, reciprocation, and showing interest. And so when a woman does show interest and desire to a man, it draws him more to that woman. So it's a very powerful tool. And of course, you know, depending on the specific man, there might be certain ways he likes to be flirted or shown desire. So you always want to take time to learn that specific guy and what works for him. But it's something you want to embrace that will make things a lot better for you in dating and relationships. All right. So another one, and this one, if I'm honest, some of y'all may not like, but I think a lot of y'all will understand and respect it. So another reason, or another thing, a feminine thing a woman can do to keep a man's interest is putting effort in looking good for him. All right. So I think there's this natural, let me make this point. So I saw this post on social media the other day, and it was some guy on Twitter saying, ladies, if a man's going to take you out, pay for dinner, plan the date, do all these wonderful things, the least you could do is ask the man, what would he like for you to wear? And a lot of the people in the comments were going in, you're crazy, that's ridiculous. And it was even a lot of men saying, oh no, that's wrong, wear what you want to wear. Now, I'm not going to say women should not wear what they want to wear, because you got to be confident in how you're dressing. You got to be true to who you are and what your style is, right? But I do think the mindset is important to consider, at least when it comes to we are already dating each other or in a relationship with each other. So once it's understood that, okay, there is attraction and they do enjoy who you are and they enjoy your style, right? That works for them. It's now being mindful of, within that framework, finding out what they would like and taking that into consideration. So let me give an example. And this is a small example. Let's just say, all right, you're a more conservative dresser. So I wouldn't want you to try to force yourself to wear provocative things that make you uncomfortable, don't really work for you, because the guy that you're dating or in a relationship with really likes it, right? Because though it might satisfy his desire, it can cause conflict within you. And I wouldn't want to push you towards that. However, let's say within the framework of you dressing conservatively, you ask the man, what colors do you like me to wear? Right? Now, some men may say, I don't care what colors you wear. Just, you're good as you are. Okay, cool. It's just great for you to even show an interest and desire to want to do that for him. But let's just say he says, I love when you wear pinks and light blues. I don't know, right? So you making an effort to wear more pinks and light blues with him, that's a beautiful thing. Like, there's no reason why that should be frowned upon or looked at in any negative way. If you can do things that, again, don't take you away from who you are, what you are comfortable with, what you are confident in, but enhances the attraction or pours into what he likes and finds attractive, you should do that. I think both sides should do that, to be quite honest with you. Okay. So I do think that learning what he likes and implementing those things are amazing, because, again, it's not a common issue in the sense that it gets talked about a lot, but it's a common issue that it exists very much in plenty of relationships in marriage, is the woman not caring about looking good for that man anymore. All right. And just doing whatever she wants to do. And again, I understand people get comfortable, life hits, but I think some of these things are not that hard. And it shouldn't be an issue to make some adjustments here and there, especially, and I would hope, if you're dealing with a man who's been nothing but good to you, why not? Why not? And if you're looking at this with the idea of, I want to keep his interest, well, this is going to work. This is going to help at the very least. So yes, being mindful, learning what he likes, making an effort to look good for him. I was going to move on, but it's hitting my spirit, so I got to say it. This also includes in just overall how you present yourself. And that means as well as keeping yourself up physically, keeping yourself in shape. Now, when I say keeping yourself in shape, I think, again, I always say this, different men like different things, okay? I think for most men, I don't want you to think when I say keeping yourself up, it's about achieving a specific aesthetic. What I want you to more so think about is trying to not deviate too far from what he was already initially attracted to, okay? So I wouldn't want any man, I wouldn't encourage any man to get with a woman with the hopes of changing her aesthetic to fit what he actually likes, right? I just think that's just dangerous ground to walk on, and that's just not healthy. But if he meets you in a certain aesthetic, whatever, if it's a certain weight, if it's a certain way you carry yourself, it's maybe you've been going to the gym, right? You want to try to maintain that as best as possible. You don't want to deviate far from that. And whatever that is going to vary from woman to woman. So that's why I'm being very careful in not calling out a very specific look, but more so saying, no, just acknowledge and understand what what was attracting him to you, and how can we keep that? Because the reality is that for most relationships, one of the big reasons why things go left is that both sides are not maintaining what the other person fell deeply for, fell in love with. So whether it's on a lot of men's, or for a lot of men, that could be the way he treated her. You know, he stopped taking her out on certain dates. He stopped calling her like he used to. And that has a negative impact. For a lot of women, it can be not looking good for him. It could be the way that she speaks to him. She spoke to him in the beginning very sweet, and now she has a little bit more of an attitude when she speaks to him. If we can learn to maintain better what brought us two together, we will find a lot more success in our dating and relationships. All right, before I move forward, I want to give you an opportunity to join my special coaching program. Go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or in the comments section. It's an amazing experience. It's going to help you tap into your feminine energy, heal, meet more serious-minded men, get your personal questions answered, and so much more. So again, go to receivingmyblessings.com. All right. So we got a couple more to go. And the next feminine thing you can do to keep a man's interest is give him something to bring value to you. Here's what I mean by that. You've seen a lot of situations, or heard of, I'm sure, men feeling like if they don't feel needed or valued in the relationship, it's like, why am I here? And what has happened for a lot of women is that you've become so accustomed to doing things yourself. You become so accustomed to living in that independent role that you struggle to let a man do for you. Now, whether it's because you become conditioned to being independent, or there's this fear of, I don't want him to think I need him or I can't do for myself, or there's this fear of if I let him do this for me, he's going to expect something in return. There's a lot of different unhealthy perspectives that create a situation where now the woman is not letting the man step into a role that he can provide a level of value. Now, again, some of y'all might be saying, well, some of these men don't want to help at all. Okay, don't deal with those men. Like, those aren't the men to be with. Unless that's your thing, so be it. But if you know you're not happy with that, and you won't be happy with that in the long term, which for most women, they won't be, just don't date those guys. But how the best way to see if he can step up is to give him something to step into. All right. And so it doesn't mean you have to become this damsel in distress. It doesn't mean that you have to, again, operate out of some kind of weakness, so to speak. It just means give him an opportunity to pour into you. And even if you can't create that opportunity, here's the reality. In most situations where the man is serious about the woman, genuinely into her, genuinely trying to build towards a relationship or in a relationship with her, he naturally is looking for ways to step up and pour into you and take on some responsibility or take some burden off your back. And what the woman who is conditioned to independence or is carrying those fears tends to do is shut the man down in those moments. And then eventually what will happen is if you keep shutting him down, he will stop offering. So one of the smallest examples I'll give is a woman who, she goes to the grocery store, she comes home. He's like, let me get those bags for you. No, I'm good. I got it. The woman says. Next time he offers again. No, I'm good. I got it. There comes a point where he stops offering to take your bags. Not because he was an unwilling participant, but because you keep saying, I'm good. I got it. I got it. And for some of you, this is more proof that you're doing stuff like that is a lot of you end up becoming the woman that everyone comes to for help, but no one goes to check on. And sometimes you may say, well, these people just are selfish. They only care about themselves. They don't care about me. When in reality, no, you just keep making people think you're good. You're all right. You don't have no issues, or you don't need any shoulders to lean on. So they stop asking. They just figure you got it. They just figure you're going to always figure it out. And so now you end up becoming more drained and overburdened and unhappy, right? So we have to learn as individuals to let people help, at least when they offer. And more specifically, if this is a man who is your man or wants to be your man, let him do for you when he offers to do for you. But if you do see an opportunity that you can hand something to him that he can help you. So, an example, let's say you have an issue with your car, right? That's a great opportunity to say, hey, can you help me with, I know that men are much better with cars, or men tend to be. I'm not going to say men are always better with cars. Some men know nothing about cars, right? But men tend to be with cars. And it may not be that he's better with cars, but it might be better for him to take the car to the mechanic than you. A lot of times these mechanics sometimes will try to get over on the woman if they sense that you don't really have a understanding of what's going on. They're less likely to try to pull it on a guy. They still do it, but it can be less likely. So it could be as simple as, can you take my car for me? And if he's really into you, he ain't got no problem with that. If he's able, now if he's just a busy guy, he doesn't have an opportunity, that's different. But look for ways to allow him to show you that he wants to do for you. And that, when a man feels like he has value with that woman, that makes him feel more wanted, and that can help draw him closer to that woman. All right, we're going to try to make these last two a little quicker. So next thing that you can do, feminine way to keep a man's interest, is to show him appreciation. Okay? Now, I recently had a reel posted on, I think on my Facebook, and it was making a point about showing appreciation. And I saw a lot of women, and I know it doesn't represent all women, but I saw a lot of women saying, why these men always need to be coddled, need appreciation, blah, 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 blah. That's the way I heard it in my head, that they were talking like that. But it's like, we all want to be appreciated. Why? We should not take issue with the idea and principle of showing appreciation. Appreciation breeds production. Okay? And I just think that, yes, it can be even more so with men, in the sense that the way that the typical man's mind works is, I'm not going to do things that don't work or have any value here. So when I don't see appreciation for something, it can cause me to think there's no value in me doing it. So why keep doing it? All right. I'm not going to assume you still want it when there's no appreciation. Now, appreciation doesn't mean you have to fall and bow down to his feet and kiss and wash his toes, all right, to make him feel good. I think sometimes y'all think I'm trying to say you got to go all out every single time he does something. No, it's just in general, it's the thank yous. It's the kiss in the cheeks. It's I appreciate that, baby. That's it. It's showing love and that positive, loving, feminine energy in those moments that he does something. Now, I think what also gets in the way of a lot of women and men, of course, but we're speaking to the women, is the whole mentality of, well, he's supposed to do that. And I really want to encourage every last one of you ladies to get that mindset out. Throw it in the garbage. There is no good. It serves you no good. Everything someone does is a choice they made. They're choosing to do this. They're choosing to pour into you. They're choosing to honor you. They're choosing to respect you. And it should be appreciated in general. And again, it doesn't mean every single moment has to be this big old grand thing that you have to do. But even just every now and then, saying, I just want to let you know I really appreciate you. I really appreciate all the things that you do. Showing the acknowledgement of his efforts goes a long way. I can't tell you how many husbands right now feel so underappreciated. So many boyfriends. And again, don't go. A lot of y'all, when y'all hear these things, you go to the mind of, well, this man ain't been doing his part. He's not, he's not giving me anything to appreciate. I'm not talking about those men, because those men you should not be with. I'm talking about the man who has done things, who has been trying. And you gotta show love to the man who's a good man. And that, again, that's what makes him not just want to be with you, but makes him want to do more for you because he knows it is valued and it is respected. And then the last thing, but not least, is laugh with him. That's it. Laugh with him. And what I mean by that is, listen, some of y'all be too uptight. Some of y'all don't have enough of a sense of humor. You're looking at things too negatively. You're being, I don't want to say overly sensitive in a way to dismiss any genuine feelings, but I do want to say overly sensitive in a sense that maybe you're looking too deep into things unnecessarily rather than learning how to laugh, learning how to take a joke, learning how to just be more at ease with this man, and understanding that if you are dealing with what has been a good man, then there's no reason to jump to a negative conclusion in certain moments. So again, using like he's being playful. Even if, okay, it's like maybe you didn't like that, but he just did, right? Nothing wrong with expressing that, but you don't have to take it in such a bad way that it becomes this horrible thing when this has always been a good man to you. So he clearly didn't have bad intention. It's just that, yeah, sometimes men do stupid things. Sometimes men don't think things through when they do it, right? Learn to not take such a negative or not to implement such a negative outlook on his actions, and just learning how to enjoy your life, laugh at things, be at ease, let that loving, positive energy flow through you more, and you will see everything around you get better.